And then there's other archangels that are mentioned here. One of them being Raziel, and this is from the Legends of the Jews. After Adam's expulsion from paradise, he prayed to God in these words: O God, Lord of the world, thou didst create the whole world unto the honor and glory of the Mighty One, and thou didst as was pleasing unto thee. Thy kingdom is unto all eternity, and thy reign unto all generations. Now, O merciful and gracious God, I pray to thee to turn again thy compassion to the head of thy works, to the spirit of which thou didst instill into him, and the soul thou didst breathe into him. Meet me with thy grace, for thou art gracious, slow to anger, and full of love. Oh, that my prayer would reach unto the throne of thy glory, and my supplication unto the throne of thy mercy, and thou wouldst incline to me with loving kindness. May the words of my mouth be acceptable, that thou turn not away from my petition, just a portion of Adam's prayer of repentance. On the third day after he had offered up this prayer, while he was sitting on the banks of the river that flows forth out of paradise, there appeared to him in the heat of the day the angel Raziel, bearing a book in his hand. The angel addressed Adam thus: O Adam, why art thou so faint-hearted? Why art thou so distressed and anxious? Thy words were heard at the moment when thou didst utter thy supplication and entreaties, and I have received the charge to teach thee pure words and deep understanding, to make thee wise through the contents of the sacred book in my hand, to know what will happen to thee until the day of thy death, and all thy descendants and all the later generations, if they will but read this book in purity, with a devout heart and an humble mind, and obey its precepts, it will become like unto thee. Raziel, the angel, then read from the book. And when Adam heard the words of the holy volume as they issued from the mouth of the angel, he fell down affrighted. But the angel encouraged him. Arise, Adam, he said, be of good courage, be not afraid. Take the book from me and keep it, for thou wilt draw knowledge from it thyself and become wise. And thou wilt also teach its contents to all those who shall be found worthy of knowing what it contains. So again, a mention made here, you have to be found worthy. In the moment when Adam took the book, a flame of fire shot up from near the river, and the angel rose heavenward with it. Then Adam knew that he who had spoken to him was an angel of God, and it was from the holy king himself that the book had come, and he used it in holiness and purity. It is the book out of which all things worth knowing can be learnt, and all mysteries. And it teaches also how to call upon the angels and make them appear before men and answer all their questions. But not all alike can use the book. Only he who is wise and God-fearing and resorts to it in holiness. Such an one is secure against all wicked counsels. His life is serene, and when death takes him from this world, he finds repose in a place where there are neither demons nor evil spirits, and out of the hands of the wicked he is quickly rescued. The Legends of the Jews, Louis Ginsburg. So, based on the ancient sacred texts indicating that Adam could hear the divine liturgy sung by the angels until the fall, which was discussed in my book, The Primordial Seed, I would venture to guess that this holy book was the primordial book of the hours, the divine liturgy, which Adam heard, because these divine liturgies are also the manner in which a soul connects to heaven. And he heard them continually until the fall and would again hear them when he was restored to God's grace. Now, some people aren't aware of this, so we'll just make sure that everyone who's watching is. So, in the biblical account of Adam and Eve, we hear of the fall, but we don't know from the biblical account that in the lost books of the Bible, there is a lengthy forgotten books of Eden which goes through the repentance of Adam and Eve. And you see how, because you're like, well, how did he go from being a cause of the fall to this and receiving this great holy book? It's because in the forgotten books of Eden, you have the story of Adam and Eve and their repentance to God, how they called out to God for forgiveness after the fall, and all that they went through in doing penance towards God. And they're actually restoring their relationship with God. And then all of these really holy things happening so that Adam could be the progenitor of the race of humanity. And so, you can see how when a single book is removed,
Yeah.
how it can totally change the story and the narrative, because Adam and Eve are consistently held up as the fall. And there is this common assertion that that fall was not remedied at the time, but that fall was remedied at the time in the forgotten books of Eden. And it was done so right away. And Adam and Eve became very holy and were very, as you can see here, very active in their relationship with God. And so there's a lot more to that story, right? And so then you have the angel Metatron, who is also another one of the archangels. And Metatron is also accounted in the pseudepigrapha to be ascended from Enoch, the prophet, and is the archangel of mystical theology. But I'm going to read to you from the book of Enoch. But if you want to read another accounting, you can check it out in the pseudepigrapha, which it's extensive. It's like the extensive initiations of Enoch in becoming Metatron in the pseudepigrapha. So from the book of Enoch, it says, according to it, the government of all things is entrusted to the angels, of whom there are 70 princes, watching over each element, nation, and language. See how we're creating a map here? Thus, Jehuel is the prince of fire and has under him 7 subordinates: Seraphiel, Gabriel, Uriel, Tamanuel, Shimsael, Hadraniel, and Samiel. Again, Michael is prince of water and similarly attended by 7 inferior spirits. Moreover, there are an infinity of angels yet lower in degree, guardians of the various animals, plants, heat, winds, rains, etc. There also are others presiding over the passions of the soul, fear, grace, favor, love, and so on. Hence, it is not to be wondered at that the angel who directs the course of the sun should have under him no less than 296 hosts, whose sum is expressed by the numerical letters in the word Haaretz, meaning the earth. The head of them is Metatron. The quote number of his name, unquote, being 314, and therefore equivalent to that of Shaddai, the Almighty. The substantial part of Second Enoch's narrative, the pseudepigrapha, is dedicated to Enoch's ascent into the celestial realm and to his heavenly metamorphosis near the throne of glory. In these lengthy and elaborated descriptions of Enoch's transformation into a celestial being on a level with the archangels, one may find the origin of another image of Enoch. That is the image of the angel Metatron, the Prince of Presence. And from major trends in Jewish mysticism, Gershom Scholem says, this Enoch, whose flesh was turned to flame, his veins to fire, his eyelashes to flashes of lightning, his eyeballs to flaming torches, and whom God placed on a throne next to the throne of glory, received after this heavenly transformation the name Metatron. And then there's another archangel by the name of Phanuel, and this is also from the book of Enoch. And it came to pass after this that my spirit was translated and it ascended into the heavens, and I saw the holy sons of God. And he showed me all the secrets of the ends of the heaven, and all the chambers of all the stars, and all the luminaries whence they proceed before the face of the holy ones. And he translated my spirit into the heaven of heavens. And I saw there, as it were, a structure built of crystals, and between those crystals, tongues of living fire. My spirit saw the girdle which girt that house of fire, and on its four sides were streams full of living fire, and they girt that house. And round about were seraphim, cherubic, and ophanim, and these are they who sleep not and guard the throne of his glory. And I saw angels who could not be counted, 1,000 thousands and 10,000 times 10,000, encircling that house. Michael and Raphael and Gabriel, Phanuel, and the holy angels who are above the heavens go in and out of that house. And they came forth from that house. And Michael and Gabriel, Raphael and Phanuel, and many holy angels without number, and with them the head of days, his head white and pure as wool, and his raiment indescribable. And I fell on my face. My whole body became relaxed, and my spirit was transfigured. That's what I spoke about before. He fell on his face. He was thrown to the ground from the holiness of what he was seeing. And I cried with a loud voice, with the spirit of power, and blessed and glorified and extolled. And that he was speaking in relation to the archangel Phanuel. And then there are the archangels of the 10 Sephirot. The Sephirotic tree consists of 10 globes of luminous splendor arranged in 3 vertical columns and connected by 22 channels or paths. 10 globes are called the Sephiroth, and to them are assigned the numbers 1 to 10. The 3 columns are called mercy on the right, severity on the left, and between them mildness, as the reconciling power. The columns may also be said to represent wisdom, strength, and beauty, which form the triune support of the universe. For it is written that the foundation of all things is the 3. The 4 Kabbalistic trees described in the preceding chapter were combined by later Jewish scholars into one all-inclusive diagram and termed by them not only the Sephirotic, but also the archetypal or heavenly Adam. According to some authorities, it is this heavenly Adam and not a terrestrial man whose creation is described in the opening chapters of Genesis. Out of the substances of this divine man, the universe was formed. In him it remains and will continue even after dissolution shall resolve the spheres back into their own primitive substance. The deity is never conceived of as actually contained in the Sephiroth, which are purely hypothetical vessels employed to define the limits of the creative essence. And that's from Manly P. Hall, who wrote the Secret Teachings of All Ages.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yes, he is a legend.
I don't live too far away from the Philosophical Research Center.
Really?
It's not too far from here, really.
Well, and the man who inherited his library lives in Sedona. And they have the library in Sedona, apparently.
What?
Yes.
That's cool.
That's pretty neat. And so what we have here so we have the list of these additional archangels along the few of the ones we already know about. Apparently there's a few additional in here as well. So there's Metatron, the second crown, the angel of the presence, also known as the angel of mystical theology. There's Ratiel, the second wisdom, the herald of the deity who revealed Kabbalah to Adam. How cool is that?
Super cool.
There's Sazquiel, the second understanding, the contemplation of God. And then there's Sadkiel, the second mercy, the justice of God. Those 2 names are pretty close.
Mm-hmm.
And there's Kamael, the second severity, the severity of God. Mikhail, the second beauty, like unto God. There's Haniel, the second victory, the grace of God. Raphael, the second glory, the divine physician. Gabriel, the second foundation, the man God, and Sandalphon, the second kingdom, the Messias, which the Messiah. And then we have another interesting kind of mystery teaching, which we're going to just touch on here, thanks to, of course, Manly P. Hall. Yeah, because he was the man who really brought all these things together. The consummation of the 10 Sephirot, the union of Metatron and the Shekinah. What? Yeah. Yeah. Shekinah is the brightness of the Shekinah, the divine feminine presence of God. So the Kabbalists conceive of the supreme deity as an incomprehensible principle to be discovered only through the process of eliminating in order all its cognizable attributes. That which remains when every knowable thing has been removed is Ein Sof, the eternal state of being. Although indefinable, the absolute permeates all space. Abstract to the degree of inconceivability, Ein Sof is the unconditioned state of all things. Substances, essences, and intelligences are manifested out of the inscrutability of Ein Sof. But the absolute itself is without substance, essence, or intelligence. Ein Sof may be likened to a great field of rich earth out of which rises a myriad of plants, each different in color, formation, and fragrance, yet each with its roots in the same dark loam, which, however, is unlike any of the forms nurtured by it. The plants are universes, God, and all nourished by Ein Sof, the eternal state of being, and all with their source in one definitionless essence, all with their spirits, souls, and bodies fashioned from this essence and doomed, like the plant, to return to the black ground. Ein Sof, the only immortal whence they came. In the secret teachings of the Kabbalah, it is taught that man's body is enveloped in an ovoid of bubble-like iridescence, which is called the auric egg. This is the causal sphere of man. It bears the same relationship to man's physical body that the globe of Ein Sof bears to its created universes. In fact, this auric egg is the Ein Sof sphere of the entity called man. In reality, therefore, the supreme consciousness of man is in this aura, which extends in all directions and completely encircles his lower bodies. As the consciousness in the cosmic egg is withdrawn into a central point, which is then called God, the Supreme One, so the consciousness in the auric egg of man is concentrated, thereby causing the establishment of a point of consciousness called the ego. As the universes in nature are formed from powers latent in the cosmic egg, so everything used by man in all his incarnations throughout the kingdoms of nature is drawn from the latent powers within his auric egg. Man never passes from this egg. It remains even after death. His births, deaths, and rebirths all take place within it, and it cannot be broken until the lesser day be with us, when mankind, like the universe, is liberated from the wheel of necessity. Manly P. Hall. And so then we go into some of the more run-of-the-mill angels, I guess.
Just the old run-of-the-mill angels.
Not the highest triad or even the lowest triad. But again, going now to like the guardian angels and how I talked about how we all have one, according to Padre Pio, and we should all be in communication with it. And this is from Alban Butler. He's charged his angels with the ministry of watching and safeguarding every one of his creatures that behold not his face. Kingdoms have their angels assigned to them, and men have their angels. These latter it is whom religion designates as the holy guardian angels. Our Lord says in the gospel, "Beware lest ye scandalize any of these little ones, for their angels in heaven see the face of my Father." Excellent warning.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to learn a little bit about the angel of the ascension here from my experiences, because I haven't been able to find anything, any of the resources that I have. I have a lot on angels. So this is the angel of ascension, and I'm going to share it from my experiences. Except, look, we do have a one from the commentary on the Acts of the Apostles. Inasmuch, however, as the sight of their eyes, even here, was not all sufficient, for in the resurrection they saw the end, but not the beginning. And in the ascension they saw the beginning, but not the end. But the angel of ascension is more, and can be understood even more so through this experience of my own. The gallery was inlaid with gold, and the stairs were of marble. Huge paintings on the wall depicted God's most beautiful creations. Three entities approached, wearing black hooded robes, their faces the images of skeletons and their hands white bones. Surrounding me on each side and to my back, I recognized them as the angels of death. "Who are you here for?" I asked, thinking that meeting one angel of death would be quite significant, but three. "We are here for you," they thought simultaneously. But another comes. Another, I thought, approaching with eminence in his mysterious form. His robes were as white as snow. They could not overshadow the faceless being who exuded light but no features. "I am the angel of ascension," he conveyed. Bowing lightly, I looked deeply into his faceless image. "Clearly, you must know," he thought, "that ascension is becoming reality for you. You must translate the Book of the Eights. Finish the Book of the Eights." Confused by this command, I didn't know what he meant. "When this is complete," he thought, "you may choose to stay or go from this realm at any time." Raising his invisible arm to the sky, he pointed directly at my heart, sending light through it. My astral form began to disintegrate until I was only a skeleton. Then my bones turned into dust, and in moments I became only white light. Quietly, he turned and walked away with the three angels of death. Watching the angel of ascension soar upwards, he became particle energy and dissipated into a thought within the mind of God. From the Zohar, the Kabbalah, Volume 4, Terumah, Exodus, page 112. "Now, what is this book of the hidden mystery?" said R. Simeon. "It contains 5 sections, which are to be found in the midst of a great hall, and whose wisdom fills the whole earth," said R. Judah. "If this book of wisdom is enclosed in that hall, it is of more worth than any other to me." "Verily," returned R. Simeon, "it is so for one who is used to passing in and out of the courts of wisdom, but not to one who rarely or never enters into that hall." There's a few things in this experience. One, not only are we introduced here to the angel of ascension, but to the angels of death,
Mm-hmm.
who do look like the mythological way that we see them, the black robes with the bones and the skeletons for their faces.
Mm.
We have the angels of death, and then the angel of ascension, who comes for those who reach the ascension in this lifetime. And then you note, he tells me to translate the Book of the Eights. And we talked about that earlier, about the levels of heaven, 1 through 7. And then you reach the 8, the Book of the Eights. And so that's the Book of Immortality. So I had to translate that Book of the Eights, which is it's kind of a symbolic book, which takes me to the next level of development into immortality beyond the ascension. So here's another experience with the angel of the ascension. Taken to an arena, two familiar beings approached. Wearing the traditional black robes, their skull faces looked into my eyes. Perchance we meet again, one said as he gnarled at me, expecting absolute terror. Oh, my dear angel of death, I said with a smile on my face. Do you really believe you can take me now? Why, yes, it is time, is it not? To believe that it was my time to go would deny my further mission to God, and thus you are incorrect. You may also be advised that I have reached the ascension. When it is indeed my time to depart this realm, it is the angel of ascension who will be coming to take my spirit to rest. Saying nothing, they both appeared a bit less confident. Coming forward, he reached his hand to me. Laughing hysterically, I did not offer them my hand. Embarrassed, the angels of death began to pull back. Used to being able to intimidate souls, they were not familiar with being made a fool. Cringing and lowering their heads, I said, "There's no need for shame, Death. I know your purpose, but your purpose will not be done with me. I am not yours any longer. I belong to the living God. It's too late. You may go back to your comrades and tell them they have lost." Turning to leave, they disappeared. From the City of God by City of St. Augustine, wickedness makes a bad use not only of evil, but also of good. In the same way, holiness makes a good use not only of good, but also of evil. Thus, sinners make a bad use of the law, although the law is good, while saints make a good use of death, although death is an evil.
Mm.
And so there's a few things in that one too, right? So we're understanding here that once we reach that ascension, there is something different that we have become, something changes, and our journey after life then changes as well. But also, another thing that happens is once we belong to the living God, the dark side has lost because we no longer belong to death, but life itself. And so this goes back to a lot of the concepts we cover in a lot of our talks, which is choosing between life and death, creation, destruction, all these things, light, dark, good, evil. And so here it's the simple acknowledgement of I am not yours any longer. I have chosen life over death, and therefore I've chosen the ascension over death. Do you see that in there?
Mm-hmm. Sure do.
And that there's no shame in the fact that the angels of death serve this purpose. It's just that I no longer belonged to them. I now belonged to a different order of being. You see how all of these things help us to understand the mechanics of existence and the mechanics of how all of these things work for us.
Yep.
If we want to no longer belong to death itself, we have to choose life. If we want to no longer belong to the backwards flow, we have to choose forward motion. All of these things come together. So we want to, so many people talk about, I want to take a course on ascension. I want to reach ascension. Well, it's all the same path. It's choosing between good and evil, life and death, creation, destruction, disillusion or progression forward. All these things are part and parcel of how do you find that pathway to the ascension and leave the path of death behind, which is the karmic path that we're all born into.